Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. You know, I've been asked questions about, do I have any regrets? And my answer is that I don't really dwell on regret. I don't have any regrets per se, is for the simple fact that I can't change anything that I've done. You know, I can't turn back the hand of times. I can't teleport myself back to the past. But for sure, there's a lot of decisions that I've made in my life that I wish I hadn't, you know. And yet, at the end of the day, every experience that we go through builds character and helps us become the individual that we are today. And the individual that I am today, I'm okay with, you know. But that doesn't mean that I've been happy and satisfied with all the decisions that I made through the course of my life up to this point. You know, over the weekend, you know, I got a chance to kick with one of my homies, and he's a little bit older than me. You know, he has a brother that's died. He had a brother that's been to prison for murder. And we were just going through everything and how we are today and where everybody's at. You know, we lost a lot of homies, man. We got some homies that's passed away, and we got some homies that's been deported back to Vietnam, back to Cambodia. And we got a lot of homies that are on standby, that are designated for deportation back to Laos. But right now, Laos is a communist country, and they're not accepting any deportee. Well, that might change when the Trump administration gets into office, because there's a lot of things that they're trying to change as far as the laws and rules of immigration. You know, but again, we can't change it. All we can do now is just sit and wait to see what happens, right? But, you know, as far as like me and my homies, man, we're family. You know, I said it before, I don't have friends, I have family. And some of these guys, I've known them since they were babies. And to be the older one, as far as, you know, with the kids that I knew when I was growing up, and then having them follow in my footstep, and then end up getting deported or end up going to prison, that does sit on your conscience, you know. I'm fortunate enough today that they've all made it back home. Even back home is like Cambodia. Some are still here. We only got like a couple homies left that are locked up. I got the homie Lot, who's got 2 sentences for murder. You know, he had a life sentence in the state, but in the state is a fight of life. And you usually do you can do anywhere between 5 years to 30 years. And I think he did about 18 years in the state, and he's now in the feds right now with like 6 more years left to go. So they gave him a total of 30 years. So hopefully, you know, he'll be able to come back home soon. He's put in, you know, we just wrote letters for him this past couple weeks to try to get him a pardon. You never know unless you try, you know. But, you know, when I was running around, I could honestly say that I never recruited anybody. I never jumped anybody in the hood. I never brought nobody on. Because even though I was living that life, I didn't want it for the people around me. But when I got locked up in 95, some of these younger kids that I knew since they were babies, they took the opportunity of my absence to get put on. So when I came out in 98, you know, a lot of them were running with the homies. And in 98, I wasn't in a good space in my mind. You know, I was full of anger and full of vengeance. And my mentalities at that time was like, all right, if you really want to do this, then let's go. And we all crashed. You know, we all ended up getting locked up. And one of my homies, we call him Lil Man back then. You know, I've known him since he was a baby. He was like 16 years old when he was running around with me when we all got caught up. But the one thing that I give credit to my homeboys, that these younger homies that were running around with us, you know, they were hard. They were hard in their own rights, and they held their own. You know, Lil Man, he ended up getting sentenced to a juvenile prison, Decker Lake, out here in Decker Lake. But at the time in Decker Lake, if you got in a fight or if you beat somebody up, they'll certify you as an adult. So me and the rest of my homies, we were all in Old Metro doing time. And Lil Man wanted to come and kick it with us over there. So he ended up beating somebody up over in the juvenile prison and got certified as an adult at 16. He might have been almost 17 at this time, but I think he was still 16, and got sent to the county jail with us. So one night, I'm down on the first floor, and the orderlies come down. You know, if you're running around in the streets back in the 90s, you would know who I was. You would know who my homeboys was, at least our hood, you know. So he was on the third floor, and an orderly came down to the first floor, and he's like, hey, man, you know a dude named Lil Man? I'm like, yeah, that's my homie. What's up? Man, he's on the third floor. I said, what? Yeah, he's on the third floor. They had him in PC, protective custody. I said, what the fuck is he doing in there? He goes, I don't know. I told him, hey, man, Mason's not going to like it that you're in here. But the reason they put him in there is because he was young and he was small, and they were afraid for his safety. So they had to put him in PC. So when the orderly comes and tells me that, I ride him a kite. I send it back up. I say, hey, man, you need to get out of there. You know, do what you got to do. Tell the police that you can't be in here, that you need to be in population. And if he refuses or doesn't want to listen, and I told him throw some piss on the CO. That's a quick way to get your ass, you know, out of there. You might have to go to the SHU for a little bit, but they're going to put you in population. So he didn't throw any piss on the CO, but he went up there. When he got the kite, he was kicking the door, making a ruckus, letting him know, man, I don't need to be protected by nobody. Get me the fuck out of here, right? So they ended up putting him in on the 7th floor. You know, I went to jail when I was a kid. You know, I mean, at 18, as soon as I turned 18, I was in jail. So, but my mentality was a little different because I was a little bit more mature as opposed to being 16. And here's this kid, you know, my young homie, he's 16 years old in a grown ass man's jail, right? But he had heart, and he went hard, you know. I just, you know, a lot of my homies, man, I give them credit for the life that we signed up for. They did what they were supposed to do. Everywhere we went, everywhere any of my homies went through and got locked up, they always carried themselves in a way they were supposed to, and they was respected. So, Lil Man gets put on Section 7. Section 7 in Old Metro is like, I guess it's on the 7th floor, because, you know, Old Metro, you have the county jail, but you got another part of the county jail that's like, I think maybe 10 stories. It's tall, right? So he gets put in Section 7, and Section 7 is more like a dormitory, where it's just a big-ass room, and it's just bunk bed all through there. You might have 30, 40 motherfuckers in that dorm. So while he was there, you know, he told me the story later after we ran into each other through the jail. But he was there with the other young homie, Moni from Regulators, and a Samoan cat. I don't know the Samoan cat. I don't know his name, but the Samoan cat was on the phone, right? And when he was on the phone, one of the skinheads went over there and said, "Phone check, man. This is a white phone." With every group, when people come in, we have our neo-Nazi groups, we have our different gangs that we rival with and all that stuff. And, racism is abound, especially when you join up with those gangs. And for some reason or another, when they have more people than somebody else, they want to push their weight. And they seen that these kids, because they were kids, all of them. Even Moni was 17, my young homie was 16, and the Samoan dude was just a kid himself. They all got certified from a juvenile prison. So the Samoan dude comes back and tells Lil Man and Moni, like, "Yeah, man, that white boy told me that I can't use that phone because it's a white phone." And Lil Man and Moni looked at him like, "Why didn't you punch him in the mouth?" Because being locked up, you have to understand that everything is about perception. Everything is about your reputation. So when you have an encounter with a certain situation, people expect you to deal with it in a certain way. And if you don't, then they're going to look at that as you scared and you're a punk. And you can't wait for somebody to punk you after 3 or 4 times before you buck up. Because even then, even you buck up after the 5th time or something, you might save a little face, but you still have those 3 or 4 priors that you got punked that you can't really walk back, So the way you deal with things when you're locked up is when it first comes up, you deal with it, And that has nothing to do with you knowing how to fight or with you being big or a badass or anything. It's just understand that most bullies, they're not looking for a fight. They're looking for an easy victim. And if they know that if they go over here and press on you and they're going to get punched in the mouth, they're not going to do it because they're not looking for a fight. But if they push up on you and you don't do nothing, then there's a whole line of other people that's waiting to do the same shit. But these bullies, these are individuals that are not, they're not confident in who they are, right? They're not confident in their own skin. They don't know exactly what they're about. So they're just projecting, especially if they're bigger than you. They try to do shit to project that image that they're tough, that they're dangerous, that, people should leave them alone or whatever. A lot of times bullies, man, they end up being cowards. Not all of them. Some of them are just pieces of shit and just want to take advantage of people and they go hard and all that. But in my experience, a lot of bullies are cowards because they're not doing it to some big dude or some tough dude that they think might be able to whoop them. They're trying to pick the easy victims, young kids, little, smaller dudes or whatever. So when they come back and tell the homie that, when the Samoan dude come back and tell the homie that these white dudes, try to phone, didn't try, he did. Phone checked him, told him that was a white phone, that he can't use it. Instead of punching the white dude in the mouth, he comes back and tells the homie. And the homie's looking at him like, man, like he's a bitch, right? Because like I told you before, you're never going to hear me go tell one of my homies or anybody around me that somebody punked me or somebody disrespect me. Because if somebody punked me and somebody really disrespect me, then, his mouth should be hanging out the side of his face. And if it's not, then I must be a punk. I must be somebody that's not deserving of respect. That's just the mentality that I have since since I was a kid. You know, throughout my school years and stuff, I always get in fights, and the fights I always get in was always been bigger dudes, older dudes, or whatnot, because I'm a little dude and I wear glasses, and sometimes, you know, people think that's, you know, something that's not. So, but my young homie and Moni, which is my young homie too, but he's from Regs, they're like, what? So they went up there, and there's about maybe 7 or 8 of them white dudes, and these are grown ass men. You know, they're in their 20s, some of them are in their 30s. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's about your heart, man. So when I finally ran into Lil Man, he was in the shoe. And I'm like, what happened? And then he told me the story, you know. So when that Samoan dude came back and told him about how the white dude phone checked him, you know, even though it's not got nothing to do with Lil Man or Moni, it's perception, you know. Just like in a penitentiary, even if I don't like you, but you're Asian or you're Islander, I can't allow somebody to come and take something from you. I can't allow somebody to punk you and not have you do something in return. You know, if you're a coward and you're not going to do nothing, then I got to deal with you. I either got to remove you, or I'm going to make you go and handle that business. And if you don't want to handle that business, then I'm going to remove you, because I don't want you around me, because now you're making us look bad. And again, perception is very important in the penitentiary. When other groups think that your group is soft, then you're not going to be respected. And if you don't have any respect in the penitentiary, the people's going to walk all over you. You're not going to be able to conduct business. You're not going to be able to do your time, because there's always somebody going to be waiting in the wing to try to take advantage of you. And the young homie understand this. Yeah, the Samoan dude, he's a coward. Didn't want to do anything to the white dude. But because he's Samoan, he falls under the Asian Islander. They can't allow that to go without being dealt with. So the two homies, they walked over there. There's 7 white dudes. I'm saying 7. I don't know the exact number, but it was more than them. They went over there, and they took off on all the white dudes. And these are all grown-ass men. And they're getting it in until, you know, the COs come and break it up. But I share this story because, like how I, you know, started out the video about, you know, regrets. And, you know, the young homie eventually ended up going home, you know, in a couple years. But then they end up catching a case in 2006 where the homies got RICO'd. You know, his life journey, he came and visited me when I was in Victorville after an incident. They got into a shooting where 5 people of the opposition was critically injured and was on life support. So him and his little brother caught a plane and left to Cambodia. But growing up in America, you know, with all the perks, you know, even if you're poor in America, you have luxuries in here that other people don't have in other countries. If you're poor in Cambodia, you're fucked up, you know? But if you're poor in America, you're still gonna have a phone, you're still gonna have a TV, you're still gonna have a car, and you're still gonna pretty much be able to eat what you want, you know? You might not have all the brand name clothes and all that, or whatever, but you're not poor like third world country poor. So in 2006, I was in Beaumont. Well, he came and visited me in 2004, 2005 before he left. You know, he came to visit me when I was in Victorville to say goodbye. Because he's like, man, because they got arrested, but they end up, when you're in the state, you're able to get bail. If you get arrested in the feds, you might not be able to get bail. But he got arrested, him and his brother got arrested in the state, and they were able to bail out. And when he bailed out, he was like, hey, I'm going to come and see you. I'm leaving. So him and my little brother came and visited me, and he shared the story with me about what happened. And, you know, all the dudes that were still on life support. It's been like 2 weeks, and a few of them are still on life support. And they were like, man, I'm not gonna sit around and wait and see what happens. So him and his little brother, they snuck out of the country and went to Cambodia. And during the next 6-7 months, I end up getting transferred to Beaumont. And I call home, check on his family. I call home, talk to my mom and stuff. And, every time I call my mom, she's telling that, my little brother, we call him my little brother because I've known him since they were babies. It's like, yeah, your little brother keeps calling, talking about how miserable it is in Cambodia, right? Like you say, if you go out there with no money, when he went over there, he didn't get all his shots and all that stuff. Like if you were going to take a vacation to a third world country, they're going to tell you, hey, these are kind of diseases out here and stuff. You might want to take a vaccine, get your vaccine and stuff so you're not affected by it. But everything he ate gave him diarrhea. He was always sick. I mean, he enjoyed it, but still, it's still a third world country compared to the luxury and the privilege that you have here in America. So maybe 6-7 months later, I call his house to talk to his older brother, just to chop it up, just to, get an update. And he picks up the phone. And I'm like, what? So what's up? Oh, he goes, oh man, I couldn't handle it. I was like, what? He's like, man, I'd rather be in jail in America than out there in Cambodia. So think about that for a minute. Third world countries are fucked up. There's people in those villages that still don't have running water, that still don't have electricity, and all the rest, man. So he was like, man, I'd rather be in jail in America than be out there in Cambodia. So when I was on the phone with him, it was maybe like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And he's like, yeah, on Friday, some of the homies gonna give me some money and I'm gonna shoot you some money. So when Friday comes, I get the money on my books. So I call home to thank him. So when I call home, his older brother picked up the phone and he's like, I was like, man, hey, where's little man? He said, oh man, they kicked in all the doors. Around 3 or 4 o'clock that morning, Friday morning, the feds kicked in all the doors to all the homies and picked them all up. And that's how the hood got RICO. For me, it's like when I talk to their parents, his parents and stuff, we're cordial, but they always look at me like I'm the reason why their kids went astray. Because they wanted to emulate me. They wanted to do what I was doing. And I wasn't a very good brother. Whether that's towards my own siblings or to the young homies. Because I didn't lead them in the right direction. I didn't tell them to go to school. I didn't tell them to get an education. I didn't, I was out in the streets. But, at the time, I'm just thinking that I'm just doing me, man. That I'm the only one that's going to be affected by my actions. I wasn't aware that, I wasn't fully aware, fully conscious that the younger people, younger homies, were looking up to me. Were looking up to me to lead them. And at that time, I didn't really fully understand my responsibility as the older brother to take care of them, to make sure they're safe, to make sure their family is well and healthy. I was just doing me, man. And I wasn't very conscious of the effect, the ripple effect that it had until they all got locked up. I called home. I asked my mom, hey, how's everything going? And she was like, oh, it's really quiet out here now that all your homeboys are locked up. And that kind of hit me different because, even though we were living our lives doing what we were doing, getting into what we were getting into, we were really affecting the community around us, especially the Asian community. Because even though there was a war between us and the opposition, everybody has family, everybody's related, and everybody's affected. You know, when they have Cambodian New Year's, a lot of people might not want to go to the Cambodian New Year's because we're going to show up, because they're going to show up. And if we both show up at the same time, somebody's going to get hurt. And sometimes the people that get hurt are not always the people that's in the mix. You know, because when shit erupts, when there's chaos going around, sometimes some bullets don't hit the target and hit something else. And so for their own concern, for their safety, they don't show up. You know, they go do something else. Or they don't go to the mall, they don't go to the concerts, they don't go to the festivities because they know that if they go and we show up, there's going to be some shit. And I wasn't really conscious of that shit at that time. But looking back and seeing all the negative ripples that we caused, not just for the families that were directly involved with us, or just the people that were directly in opposition with us, but for our whole community. You know, so like I said, I don't waste time in regrets. There's nothing that I can do to change the past, to make it right, other than try to live a different life, you know, other than try to show people that I'm not the same individual. Yeah, I hold to a lot of principles that I agree with, that I believe in, but I'm trying to put that in a different aspect, a different lifestyle. But, you know, when you think about it, think about all the people that we've lost along the way. Sometimes it keeps you up at night, you know. And sometimes you wish that you might not have done, shouldn't have done the things you've done, and you know, what are the possibilities of where our life could be now if we all didn't end up in prison? Because these guys, they came home and they made a success out of their lives. They raised their kids, they got careers, they got their own businesses, but these were only started in the last few years after they got out. Just imagine if they had their whole, you know, young life to create these things, where they could be now. You know, that's the same thing with me. I wake up every day and it's a grind. You know, I believe I'm pretty intelligent, except when it comes to like computers and technology. And right now, that's what all the world runs on, is computers and technology. And if you're not able to navigate through those spaces, you're like a fish out of water, man. And sometimes I feel like that, like a fish out of water. So a lot of the frustration comes is that I haven't caught up to the times yet, because I've been in a, you know, I've been pickled, I've been frozen for the last, you know, 22 plus decades. So at the end of the day, you know, it's not that I don't have regrets. It's just I don't want to dwell on it. But we definitely wish, me personally wish that I made different decisions. Not really for myself, because I've accepted all the things that I've done. But really my regret is all the lives that was affected by my actions, whether that was directly or indirectly. My prison life is my karma. And I believe in karma. You know, I subscribe more to the Buddhist religion, the Buddhist way of life, cause and effect, and all the rest of it, pursuing enlightenment. And, you know, even if it takes me for the rest of my life, I hope to one day to be able to just do something that the people that were affected by the way I live my life can look at me and say that I've truly changed, and that I've truly been able to make a difference in my community somehow, some way. I don't know exactly how I'm going to accomplish that. That's my goal, is to be a better person, be a better man, and not just for myself, but for the people around me. That I want to be worthy of their respect and their love, but I want their respect and their love for the right reason. I was respected and loved for the things that I was done in the street, as far as, my homies are concerned, but those things were very destructive. Now I want the love and the respect for doing something that's positive for myself and for my community. Welcome to the USP.